At the very tip of Luzon, the long finger of land that reaches northeast into the Philippine Sea, a name is written on the map. The Spanish cartographers who placed it there had no battle in mind. They were simply cataloging coastline. But the word they left at that farthest point of the peninsula is engaño. In Spanish, the word means deception. There is a photograph taken on the afternoon of October 25th, 1944. In it, a Japanese aircraft carrier lists violently to port, her flight deck canted toward the ocean. Hundreds of men stand in rigid formation on that tilting deck, as if a ship dying beneath them demands the same discipline as a parade ground. The naval ensign has just come down. The men are standing at attention. Some are looking at the camera. Most are not. On that same afternoon, 200 miles to the south, the invasion of the Philippines is fighting for its life. These two things are happening at the same time. They are connected. What connects them is a plan, one man's psychology, and a name written on a cape. What does it mean to win a battle you were designed to lose? And to lose the war you were designed to win? Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa stands out in any crowd of Imperial Japanese Navy officers, which is not a thing that usually requires saying about an admiral. He stands 6 feet 7 inches, a full foot above most of his peers. His face is broad, angular, and heavily featured. His Japanese nickname is Onigawara, roof tile demon. The Americans who eventually interrogate him will describe an officer of impressive personality, dignified presence, and thoughtful habit of mind. The men who serve under him know him as compassionate and precise. The nickname, for those who work closest to him, is at odds with the man. In October 1944, Ozawa is 58 years old, and the Imperial Japanese Navy has just handed him a death sentence. His force is built around 4 aircraft carriers. At the center is Zuikaku, Auspicious Crane, a full fleet carrier of the Shokaku class. Commissioned in 1941, the pride of the 5th Carrier Division and Ozawa's flagship for this final sortie. She has been at Pearl Harbor. She has been at the Coral Sea, the Eastern Solomons, Santa Cruz, and the Philippine Sea. The 6 carriers that launched the Pearl Harbor attack have been reduced, one by one, to 4, then 2, then 1. Zuikaku is the last. She carries the whole arc of the war in her hull, from its first morning to this. Around her are 3 light carriers, Zuiho, Chitos, and Chiyoda, and 2 hybrid battleship carriers, Ise and Hyuga, their rear turrets removed, short flight decks installed in their place. On a map, this looks like a formidable force. It is not. The Battle of the Philippine Sea, 4 months earlier, settled that question for good. In a single day of air combat in June 1944, Ozawa lost 346 aircraft. The Americans lost 15. Japanese naval aviation did not recover. It could not recover. The pilots were gone, and the men trained to replace them were not ready to fly from carriers. Post-war interrogation of Rear Admiral Chiaki Matsuda, commanding Ise and Hyuga, will explain why his ships carry no aircraft at all. The pilots assigned to them were judged undertrained for sea operations and transferred to land-based units on Formosa before departure. Ise and Hyuga sailed to battle as expensive decoys. By the morning of October 25th, the entire Northern Force will have sent up 75 aircraft, including 11 fighters to constitute its combat air patrol. 11 fighters against a fleet that can put more than 1,000 planes in the air. This is what Ozawa takes south from Japan on October 20th, 1944. His orders are not to fight. His orders are to be seen, to be found, to be chased, to draw the American fast carriers away from Leyte Gulf, so that Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's heavy surface force can slip through San Bernardino Strait and fall on the American invasion shipping below. Ozawa's ships are not expected to survive their diversionary employment. The plan says so without qualification. He understands it without illusion. He goes. The man the Japanese have built their trap for is Admiral William F. Halsey, Jr., commanding the U.S. Third Fleet from the bridge of USS New Jersey. He is 61 years old, square-jawed, bulldog-heavy, his brows fixed in a permanent scowl. The press calls him Bull Halsey. He dislikes this. His family and his fellow officers call him Bill. He earned his wings at 52 years old, the oldest man in the history of the United States Navy to qualify as a pilot. He missed midway, sidelined by a skin condition, and came back to command, knowing that the decisive carrier action of the Pacific War had been fought without him. He intends not to miss the next one. His orders from Admiral Chester Nimitz carry an edge of their own. The directive is explicit. In case opportunity for destruction of major portion of the enemy fleet offers or can be created, such destruction becomes the primary task. The Japanese know this order exists. They have also studied Halsey's record, his dispositions, his responses under pressure, the quality of his aggressiveness. It is not to them merely a personality trait. It is a tactical resource. Operation Shogo 1. The Japanese plan to defend the Philippines is not designed around a generic American admiral. It is designed around this specific man and his specific tendency to pursue, to commit fully, to go north when carriers are north. Nimitz's orders and the Japanese trap point Halsey in the same direction. The spring is set. It is waiting for him. Ozawa's force departs Japan on October 20th. The same day Douglas MacArthur wades ashore at Leyte, and the Japanese activate Shogo 1. For the next 4 days, Ozawa has a problem he did not anticipate. He cannot get anyone to look at him. His mission is simple. Be found. Generate radio traffic the Americans can intercept. Make noise. But the American carriers are occupied. Kurita's center force is moving through the Sibuyan Sea. Land-based Japanese aircraft are striking from Luzon, and Ozawa's force sits too far north to attract immediate attention. His radio transmissions fail to generate results. The northern force, the one piece of the Japanese plan specifically intended to be discovered, is the last to be located. A man designed to be sacrificed, trying to give himself up, finding no takers. On October 24th, Ozawa launches 75 aircraft against the American fleet in a last attempt to force notice. Most are shot down before reaching their targets. A handful escape to Luzon. The strike does negligible damage. Then, late in the afternoon, his signals intelligence detects what appears to be an American communication suggesting Kurita has already withdrawn. The plan, it seems to Ozawa, may have already collapsed. He begins to pull north, away from the American fleet he has spent 4 days trying to attract. It is at this precise moment, 4:40 in the afternoon, October 24th, that an American search aircraft finally finds him. The bait is trying to swim away from the hook. The hook is already set. Halsey sees the contact report. Japan's last carriers, concentrated, within reach. He has been waiting for this since December 1941. He turns north with everything he has. What Halsey does not know as he turns is the shape of what he is leaving behind him. His fleet includes Task Force 34, a battle line built around 6 modern battleships under Admiral Willis Lee, the most experienced battle squadron commander in the Navy. Earlier, on October 24th, Halsey had sent a message indicating this force might be formed to guard San Bernardino Strait against Kurita. It was framed as a contingency. It was never a firm order. But the message goes out across multiple commands, and in Pearl Harbor and aboard Kincaid's 7th Fleet flagship, it lands as a statement of fact rather than a hypothetical. Admiral Kincaid reads it and concludes, TF-34 is guarding the strait. He moves his 6 older battleships south to face a separate Japanese force coming through Surigao Strait. Admiral Nimitz in Hawaii reads it and makes the same assumption. Nobody checks with Halsey because nobody imagines there is a gap to check. 3 of Halsey's own task force commanders sense something is wrong. Rear Admiral Gerald Bogan contacts Halsey's staff with the information that the navigation lights in San Bernardino Strait are lit. Somebody is preparing to come through in the dark. He is brushed off. Admiral Lee, commanding the battle line, correctly deduces that Ozawa's force is a decoy with negligible striking power and signals Halsey that Kurita is likely to emerge from the strait. He is brushed off too. Commodore Arleigh Burke, serving under Vice Admiral Mark Mitcher, drafts a dispatch recommending that battleships be left to guard the strait. He brings it to Mitcher. Mitcher looks at it. He's one of the finest carrier tacticians in the Navy, and he knows exactly what the dispatch says. He tells Burke, "There's nothing worse than changing orders in a battle. I don't think we ought to bother Admiral Halsey. He's busy enough." The dispatch is not sent. 5 separate moments where the chain could have caught. 5 separate, reasonable choices, each defensible in isolation, each pointing in the same direction. San Bernardino Strait goes unguarded, not through a single act of recklessness, but through a cascade of assumptions that happen to be wrong simultaneously. That night, Vice Admiral Kurita's center force moves through San Bernardino Strait in the darkness. Navigation lights on. No American ship challenges them. The battleship Yamato leads the column south. Dawn breaks across the Philippine Sea on October the 25th, 1944. The air is warm, the sea moderate, visibility improving as the sun climbs above the horizon. Ozawa's force begins launching aircraft as Mitcher's first strike wave departs the American carriers. At 0707, lookouts on Zuikaku spot the incoming formation. By 0930, Ozawa's last planes are airborne, 11 fighters for combat air patrol, rising to meet 180 American aircraft already closing on the fleet. The escorting American fighters destroy what remains of Ozawa's combat air patrol before it can do meaningful work. The 25mm anti-aircraft guns on the Japanese ships open up, the rapid, percussive bark of Japan's close-range weapon filling the sky with tracer. But there are too many planes and too few guns. The first wave splits its attention. 80 aircraft go after Zuikaku and Zuiho, 50 after the remaining carriers. Zuikaku absorbs a torpedo hit and drops out of formation, trailing oil. The destroyer Akizuki catches a bomb in her magazine and is gone almost instantly. Chitose burns. The second wave arrives around 1,000. It comes from all directions simultaneously. Torpedoes detonate against Zuikaku's hull. Deep, percussive shocks felt through the steel before they are heard, and her speed falls further. Zuiho is struck by 2 bombs and bracketed by near misses that open her seams. Chiyoda is stopped dead in the water, smoke pouring from her flight deck. Ozawa transfers his flag from Zuikaku to the light cruiser Oyodo. The carrier can no longer be led from. He takes what remains of his staff across the water by boat and watches his flagship continue to absorb punishment from a distance. Shortly after 1300, the third wave finds Zuikaku alone, dead slow, listing badly to port. 3 torpedoes strike in quick succession. She stops. The listing deepens. The sea rises visibly toward her port side. The order to abandon ship is passed at 1358. The naval ensign is lowered. The surviving crew forms up in ranks on the tilting flight deck, the deck that angles toward the ocean. They stand in full uniform at rigid attention as the ship dies beneath their feet. Then the formation finds its voice. Banzai, a single sound that rises from hundreds of men and carries across the water to every ship and aircraft nearby. These men have known since October 20th that this was where they were going. At 1414, Zuikaku rolls over and sinks stern first. Rear Admiral Kaizuka Takeo goes with her. He had been promoted from captain 10 days earlier. 842 men go with her. 862 are pulled from the water, the last carrier from the Pearl Harbor. Strike forces gone. While the destroyers are pulling survivors from the water at Cape Engaño, something is happening 200 miles to the south. Kurita's center force, the fleet Halsey was confident had been neutralized in the Sibuyan Sea the previous day, the fleet that had passed through San Bernardino Strait in the dark, has turned south along the coast of Samar and fallen on Taffy 3. Rear Admiral Clifton Sprague's Task Unit 77.4.3 is not a battle force. Its escort carriers were built on merchant hulls. Its destroyers are the smallest class in the fleet. Against Kurita's battleships and heavy cruisers, Taffy 3 has almost nothing. It fights anyway. The men at Cape Engaño do not know this. They believe TF-34 is at San Bernardino. They believe the invasion is safe. A message reaches Halsey from Admiral Kincaid, sent in plain language, stripped of protocol. My situation is critical. Fast battleships and support by air strikes may be able to keep enemy from destroying CVES and entering Leyte. CVES escort carriers. Sprague's ships. At Samar, 5 of the 7 ships of the combined escort forces are lost. 1,161 men are killed or missing, a figure comparable in the historical accounting to the combined losses at Midway and the Coral Sea. It happens while the most powerful carrier fleet in American history is sinking empty Japanese carriers 200 miles away. Near noon on October 25th, a message arrives on the bridge of USS New Jersey. It originates with Admiral Nimitz in Pearl Harbor, a routine query about the current position of Task Force 34, sent because Kincaid's distress signals have made the strait's status suddenly horribly unclear. The message is encoded and transmitted in the standard way. The standard way includes padding phrases, random words inserted at the beginning and end to impede Japanese cryptanalysis. A communications officer with, his superiors will later note, an excellent reputation and a previously clean record chooses his padding from a poem. From Tennyson's The Charge of the Light Brigade. Halsey's decoders strip the padding from the front of the message. The phrase at the end resembles part of the message closely enough that they leave it attached. The text handed to Halsey on the bridge of New Jersey reads, "Where is RPT? Where is Task Force 34 XX? The world wonders." I was stunned as if I had been struck in the face. Halsey will write later. The paper rattled in my hands. I snatched off my cap, threw it on the deck. He shouts something he is, by his own account, ashamed to repeat. He sobs. Rear Admiral Robert Carney, Halsey's chief of staff, the man who had argued most strongly for chasing the carriers north, grabs him by the shoulders. "Stop it," Carney says. Halsey believes Nimitz has publicly humiliated him mid-battle. He won't know the truth for several weeks. The message was never a rebuke. It was a question. The anonymous ensign's padding phrase has functionally rewritten it, and what lands on Halsey's bridge is a different message than the one Nimitz sent. He turns his 2 fastest battleships, 3 light cruisers, and 8 destroyers south. They arrive at Samar too late. Kurita. For reasons historians have debated ever since, whether confusion, exhaustion, or some calculation no one fully understands, has already turned his fleet around. The invasion survives without Halsey's battleships. It survives despite the unguarded strait, despite the morning off Samar, despite everything the Japanese plan was designed to prevent. Ozawa's sacrifice enabled an attack that Kurita chose not to complete. In the aftermath, the Navy coins a phrase. Bull's Run, Halsey's press nickname married to a Civil War defeat, the one Union commanders blamed on poor coordination and decisive action, arriving too late. Rear Admiral Clifton Sprague is not generous in his post-war assessment. In the absence of any information that this exit was no longer blocked, it was logical to assume that our northern flank could not be exposed without ample warning. In his post-battle dispatch, Halsey defends himself plainly. Guarding San Bernardino Strait statically had seemed, he writes, childish, given what appeared to be an opportunity to destroy Japan's last carrier fleet. The carriers were hollow. He didn't know that. San Bernardino was unguarded. He didn't know that either. If TF-34 had been detached even a few hours earlier, 6 modern battleships under Admiral Lee, the most experienced battle squadron commander in the Navy, they would have met Kurita at San Bernardino. The math, as historians have run it since, is not complicated. Lee would likely have crossed Kurita's T. The invasion would have been protected without a single escort carrier dying. Years later, quietly, Halsey tells Morrison that he wishes Spruance had been with Mitchell at Leyte Gulf and himself at the Philippine Sea. That turning south toward Samar was the only move of the battle he regretted. The war ended on September 2, 1945. Less than a year after Zuikaku sank off Cape Engaño. In October of that year, American officers sit down with Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa. He cooperates fully. He gives them everything he knows, the order of battle, the intentions, the decisions he made, and the ones made above him. He does the same for American naval historian Samuel Eliot Morrison, whose 15-volume history of U.S. naval operations in World War II becomes the definitive account of what happened in these waters. Ozawa becomes the last commander-in-chief of the Imperial Japanese Navy, serving from May 1945 until the service ceases to exist. He is offered promotion to full admiral. He declines. He remains a vice admiral until the rank has nothing left to mean. He dies in 1966 at 80. He has outlived his flagship by 22 years. In post-war interrogation, Ozawa is asked what he thinks of the war, the man who accepted a death sentence, who sailed his hollow carrier south, who spent 4 days trying to sacrifice himself and nearly failed at it, who succeeded in his decoy role precisely as the plan required, and then learned that Kurita had turned back anyway, that the operation his men were dying to enable had been abandoned. This man, when asked about the war, says 7 words. It is my opinion that this war should never have taken place. Zuikaku has been on the bottom of the Philippine Sea since 1414 on October the 25th, 1944. She is there still. The Imperial Japanese Navy never again projected carrier-based air power as a strategic force. The war Ozawa thought should never have taken place ended, and the world moved on, and the last carrier from the Pearl Harbors, Strike Force, stayed where the ocean put her. The cape above her still has its name. Engaño.